Hello, lovely. This video, we're going to chat briefly about baby's position in relation to you, mama, baby's position in relationship to mama. Now, if you read the textbooks or if you go to an OB or a midwife or a chiropractor, they might tell you that baby's in the optimal position or not in the optimal position. Optimal position, some say, is left anterior, where baby's spine is hanging out basically on your left side of your body, head down, and placenta's on the other side, and baby can kind of like go back and forth. Right anterior is just as fine. Some may tell you that a posterior baby is not ideal, and that's when baby's spine is kind of like lined up with your spine. Some may say breech is not ideal or optimal, and that's when baby is booty down. Some may say transverse is not optimal. That's when baby's basically lying sideways. So all these are common positions, and I want to remind you that birth is dynamic. It is a dance, and babies can change positions all the way up until they come out. How cool is that? Like I've seen a mom that had a breech baby, baby flipped, went back breech and came out breech. I've definitely had mamas where their babies have flipped, last minute, 37 weeks, up, a couple days before the due date. Anywhere like 37 weeks and beyond is considered kind of last minute. Um, so keep that in mind. Birth is dynamic. It is a dance between mom and baby. Reminder, you two are the only ones guaranteed tickets to birth, and you have your tools. You have breath, sound, and movement. And so, baby is trying to line up inside of that pelvis, pretend like this is the pelvis, and put their head right on the center of that cervix and kind of like corkscrew their way out. This is why being able to move and having the freedom and the confidence and the strength to move and get in different positions is so key. Because in early labor, we want to use gravity. We want to use that vertical position. We want to walk. We want to dance. We want to maybe squat. Squatting opens up the birth canal by like 20-30%. And note some women's, some of our pelvic floor can expand anywhere from like 25% to 200% to get baby out. But our bodies are freaking magical, brilliant. God knew what he was doing when he designed us. Sorry, my dog is chewing on something over there. And so birth is dynamic. Keep that in mind. Never forget that. And I want to share a little tip. I'm going to share a few little tips here. If you're somebody that is birthing in the hospital or transfers to the hospital and decides to get an epidural, it is more important now, I would say now, to have a doula. This is why first-time moms, I always recommend a doula. But when you have that epidural, you need to be rotating side to side as much as possible. You do not need to be staying in the same position. So maybe see if you can get a walking epidural. If that's, if an epidural is your cup of tea, see if you can go for a walking epidural. See if your husband or your doula can help move you every 30 minutes or so. Even getting in that throne position or stacking pillows underneath you to get in a tabletop position. There's so many ways to move, even with an epidural. Okay, so birth is dynamic. Write that down, put it on your fridge somewhere, and know this. Sometimes babies know things that we don't know. They've got insight into what is going on within the womb that we may never know, even with an ultrasound. Like, I don't trust those things. So if you try everything, let's say you have a breech baby and you try everything, you try chiropractic daily, you try acupuncture, you try inversions, you try all the things, and baby's not going head down, take the hint and start to research a vaginal breech birth, because this is a variation of normal, or know your choices. Know that some areas, their only option is a C-section or a vaginal breech free birth. You have choice. You always have a choice. Know that. Um, so if your baby presents breech and you have a provider that is like not down with that, this is where you really have to tune into your values, how you want to show up, the birth that you want for this little one. Maybe tune into what this little one is saying. Prayer, meditation, going to be super important so that you can hear what God is saying to you. Now, I've seen some of the most beautiful experiences with vaginal breech birth. Vaginal breech birth has been a thing. It only stopped becoming a thing in the year 2000 based on the research paper called the Term Breech Trial. And since then, that research paper has kind of been debunked and considered bogus. Like, it's vaginal, there needs to be a trial of labor, there needs to be the option for labor. So you can even look on ACOG now. Look up the documentary Heads Up by Dr. Berlin. It should be on the website, called Informed Pregnancy. And it's a 30-minute documentary, and that is a great place to start if you don't know anything. If there's also another documentary called Trial of Labor. So if maybe you're on it, hoping for a VBAC, a vaginal birth after cesarean, that is another good option. Anyways, there are some amazing OBs out there. There are some amazing midwives that will do vaginal breech deliveries, and they will do some screenings to see what kind of position your baby's in. Are they seated like cross-legged style or pike style, where they're like, boo? If they're a footling breech with 1 foot down, 1 foot up, that's a little more challenging. But again, you're going to go through all of this, like talk about all of this once you decide on the provider to use for a vaginal breech birth. Now, if you need a consult, Dr. Stu Fishbein of Birthing Instincts is fabulous. He's been a mentor of mine and a really big support of BirthFit since its inception. And we crossed paths in Southern California together, and he would do, my dog, the only out of hospital births, like home births or birth center births, that were breech or multiples. So he's got a ton of experience in this. And if you want to hear from an OB, he's got a great podcast and he does consults. So look him up, birthinginstincts.com. All right. Birth is dynamic. Keep that in mind. And if you have any questions, if you're stuck at this fork in the road and you've got a breech baby and you're trying to figure out your options, reach out. I am more than happy to help. Okay? All right. Love you.